Hello, everyone. It's Monday. It's Sarah Dallal, of course. You always get me on a Monday now. But what a weekend! I feel like there's been a lot that's happened, and I'm joined by the wonderful Callum to unpack everything that's happened this weekend. Hey, Cal.
Hi.
How are you?
How are you? I'm all right. How are you?
Yes, good. Thank you. I'm excited to be joined by you because I think it's been a while since we've done a show together.
I think this is probably the first time this year that I've actually been on the show on camera. I think I've only been producing this year.
Yeah, this is
And can I
true.
just say, Sarah, and I think I speak for everybody watching when I say this, it's fantastic to have you back hosting as well. So I
Oh,
know you've done loads of shows this year, but I just haven't been here. But
Oh,
yeah,
thanks,
it's nice to have you
Callum.
back as well. So.
I'm really grateful. Oh, on that note, I think we'll move on to what the stories are. But before I do, actually, I will say that big up Callum because he was doing a lot of work behind the scenes. He's been going to Gorton and Denton. He's been going up and down the country, basically, essentially, like just trying getting the documentaries that you see, and all of that unpaid. Okay, so that hats off to that guy because he's doing bloody brilliant work, brilliant work. But onto our stories. Uh, we're going to look at the Chagos chaos. Farage claims he was blocked from delivering aid whilst visiting the Chagos Islands. We've got Zia Yusuf, who wants to implement the Palanski law. So we're going to unpack his bizarre attack against Zach Palanski. We'll also be looking at how the establishment has been attacking the Greens on drug policy. And finally, Mandelson literally just got arrested today. So we'll be unpacking that a little bit later. But just quickly, as ever, it's really important that you know that it would be great if you could support us. So if you can, that would be great. Today, I'm going to be pushing a little bit of my fundraiser for the London Marathon because now the 2 month mark, 2 months until I do the London Marathon. So I'm going to be pushing that a little bit. So apologies, guys. I'm taking turn left limelight for a bit to talk about myself a little bit later. But on to our first story. Um, on to our first story. Blah 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 blah. Sorry, there we go. Okay, so Farage, is there ever a time I'm hosting and this man isn't being mentioned by myself? Well, today is no exception. He is going to be mentioned today by me. Before we get into it, let's just watch what he uploaded, shall we?
I'm here in the Maldives. It's Saturday, and 200 miles over there is Ile-de-Quoi, British territory that has now been settled by British citizens, and yet the British government is doing everything it can to get those people off the island. A couple of them have said they'd rather die than be taken away from their homeland. One of them was forcibly removed from that island 55 years ago. And now the British government want to do it for a second time, which is monstrous. You can see over here, in the distance, that's the boat. It's come back to the Maldives. It's going to be going back with, and frankly, you know, medical kit, humanitarian aid, food, etc. And we're doing that because it's the right thing to do. I've come here to help the mission. I was hoping myself to go to the island. I'm just not going to have time. There's a by-election to get back for, but I will come at some point in the future. The Americans, I think, are now scuppering this deal. They were supposed to go to meet the Mauritian government next week. They've decided not to. But here's the most extraordinary thing. The British government are applying pressure on the president and the government of the Maldives to do everything within their power to stop me getting on that boat and going to the Chagos Islands. Now, if I was an ISIS fighter crossing the channel to Dover, they wouldn't give a damn. No, they put me in a hotel, they give me 3 meals a day. But here I am, a member of parliament, leader of a political party that's topping the polls. The British government, the High Commissioner here, they're doing everything they can. They've got search parties out trying to find me, and they do not want me to leave this place. Quite why Starmer has this obsession with getting rid of the Chagos Islands, I don't know. Is it that his very good friends are, in line to make millions of pounds? I just don't know the reason. It's crazy. Well, I'll tell you this. If we do give away the Chagos Islands, already the Indians have cut a very substantial economic deal with Mauritius. We know that China is deep in Mauritius. There's even a smart city there. Huawei do the communications. There will be a geopolitical battle for this part of the world, which has been settled ever since the end of World War II. And I get the sense that the Maldives government and others do not want this to become a political football between India and China. So this is pretty much the end of my mission. I'm not going to make it to Chagos, but I tell you what, I wish those guys on that island well. And when I come back, I hope it's going to be a full functioning settlement that lasts forever.
He's right. There's a by-election going on. What are you doing out there, Nige? I don't know what to say here, but what do the rules say? The rules literally say that entry to the British Indian Ocean Territory is tightly controlled. Everyone needs a permit from the UK government to enter, regardless of who they are. The British Indian Ocean Territory is not a normal destination. It is one of the most tightly controlled areas under UK jurisdiction because it contains the joint UK-US military base on Diego Garcia. Entry has always required permits issued in advance by the Foreign Office. That applies to everyone. Whether you're a journalist, a researcher, an MP, you cannot simply decide to just go. What is really interesting is the responses received from others on Twitter. There are pockets of people who obviously see right through this, and of course, pockets that don't, but this one made me laugh. Mark Vivehon said, I'm here in Nevada where I'm disappointed to have to tell you that the US government has denied my entry to Area 51. And I hate AI slop. I hate it, but this one time I'll make an exception. You're crying that you can't break the rules of the British Indian Territory Ocean, Farage. Make it make sense. And there is a kind of privilege in assuming you could just show up to restricted territory in the middle of a sovereignty negotiation and expect the rules to bend because you decided your visit is morally urgent to deliver aid on a boat. Make it make sense. The irony is just calling out. Most people do not get to test international access regimes for a photo op. It is not a normal thing to do. But I do just want to preface that this does not make the Chagos story unimportant. The displacement of the Chagosian community is a profound injustice that has been debated for decades. But this obsession with it is quite interesting. All of a sudden, people are obsessed with the Chagos Islands. Turning that long-running struggle into a last-minute, they wouldn't let me in storyline feels less like a solidarity and more like the political theatre that it's supposed to be. Anyways, that's not the most shocking thing about this. It's the sheer hypocrisy of this man attempting to cross waters, right? When his whole personality is this. Breaking news, stop the boats, he says in this one. And then he also says again, stop the boats. And then he also says again, stop the boats. Only reform will stop the boats. Stop the boats, stop the boats, stop the boats. That's all he says. That's all this guy says. If there's 3 words he probably said when he came out and he was birthed, it was probably stop the boats. So the fact that he has that line, that if he were an ISIS fighter, the UK government would give him 3 meals a day in a hotel is so insane. There's a real irony buried in what he's saying. On one hand, he's arguing that Britain is far too soft, that the state bends over backwards, that rules aren't enforced and borders aren't respected, etc., etc. On the other hand, the entire complaint about Chagos is that the government enforced the rules, that it didn't waive entry requirements, that it treated access to a restricted territory exactly the way it treats everyone else. So when the system is strict with migrants, he says it should be stricter. But when the system is strict with him, suddenly it's an unfair obstruction. I mean, you can't demand absolute enforcement as a principle and then object when enforcement applies to you. Either the rules matter or they don't. Also, someone suspected of terrorism, because he tried to put this in there really subtly, but someone suspected of terrorism does not enter the asylum system. They would be investigated under counter-terrorism legislation, detained if necessary, and prosecuted if there is evidence, or excluded from the refugee protection altogether under the Refugee Convention's own security clauses. There is literally a legal provision that says you cannot claim refugee status if you are involved in serious crime or acts contrary to the purposes of the United Nations. So that comparison is incomparable. It's false before you even get to the policy debate that he's attempting to do. As a result of all of this, he got accused of this. MAGA stunts for saying that he was denied access to the Chagos Islands. It's interesting because this Labour source also stated that Nigel Farage could have spent all weekend campaigning in the by-election in Manchester. Instead, he flew 5,000 miles to the Maldives on a $60 million private jet, had a moan at the British government and flew straight back again. 23 hours in the air to stand on a beach, whilst his candidate in Gorton and Denton has had to make do with the endorsement of Tommy Robinson instead, which I don't think is the best endorsement you can get. The Elysium that seeps off this man obviously isn't a surprise, but why is it that Farage does everything apart from deal with local issues in Clacton? Can anyone from Clacton, you know what, drop me a DM, message me, I welcome it. Tell me, what has he done for the people of Clacton? I will wait ever so patiently to find out. Callum, what are your thoughts on all of this? Do you think he's pulling MAGA stunts?
Of course he's pulling MAGA stunts, but can I just point out the fact that we're in a parliamentary recess at the moment, which means Parliament's not sitting in Westminster. And the whole point of a parliamentary recess is to allow MPs the opportunity to go back to their constituency and to focus on constituency work, right? My local MP, she's a Labour MP, is holding what do you call them? Not a hustings. What are they called? A surgery. Literally 2 minutes away from my house on Friday this week. Probably won't go because it's about the cost of living, but I want to say a lot of other things to her about a lot of other issues, but hey ho. But like the whole point is that while Parliament is not sitting, MPs go back to their constituents and they go and they talk to people that they represent in their local area and they help out the people they represent in their local area and they actually do the job that they're elected to do in the area that they're elected to do it. But credit where credit's due to Nigel Farage. He talks about the by-election. He has actually spent more time in Gorton and Denton over the last 4 weeks than he has done in Clacton. So, maybe that's where he wants to be. Maybe he should have stood himself there rather than putting forward Matt Goodwin. But yeah, it's just this whole farce of flying out to the Maldives to have a nice little holiday is essentially what he's doing. To stand on a beach and say, yeah, all the way over there is somewhere that I'm not allowed to go and I'm angry that they wouldn't let me in. I mean, what the fuck is that all about? Like, I'll tell you what, right? Guys, if we get some good donations in, right, can we get Turn Left to pay for me to go down to London and stand out at number 10 Downing Street, and I can point at the gate and say, "Oh, well, I'm a British citizen and I've come to hold my government to account, and they won't even let me through the door of number 10." It's terrible, terrible. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. It really is. I don't have much else to say other than the fact that it's ridiculous.
I completely agree.
Actually, I do have something else to say. This thing about the Chagos Islands, right?
Yeah, I was about my next question was going to be why the sudden interest in Chagos all of a sudden.
Well,
go ahead.
What I find really fascinating about this is the same people that shout really loudly about this. And bearing in mind, I interviewed some Chagosians actually last year. It was when the Great British Strike took place. And there was a local, there was a group of people from my local community who were Chagosians, and they also came to protest in that protest. And when I interviewed them and spoke to them, that their concerns were the fact that the Chagosian people hadn't been consulted on what happens with the Chagos Islands. They weren't allowed to say, and they believed that they should have had a say. And I agree with that. Of course, they should have had a say. But what's really fascinating is that people like Nigel Farage and all his far-right followers, they agree. They say the same thing, well, what about the Chagosian people? But they don't care about the Chagosian people. Because when Donald Trump wants to invade Greenland, and you've got Zach Palanski saying, well, surely, the Greenland should be, the future of Greenland should be for the people of Greenland to decide. Everyone's in uproar about it. No. Why shouldn't Donald Trump have a say? And the hypocrisy, I mean, of course, we're always going to get hypocrisy from the likes of Nigel Farage, aren't we? Let's be honest, Sarah. But the hypocrisy absolutely stinks. When it's the mate, Donald Trump, who wants to illegally invade an allied country, he should have every right to do that. But when our British government are making a choice, it's, but what about the people of the island? They don't care about the people of Chagos. They really don't. I think what it's about is it's the links to wars, it's the links to veterans, it's the links to the military, right? I had to laugh. I was doing some canvassing the other night in Gorton and Denton for the upcoming by-election. And I leafleted I leafleted an address, and they had a Reform UK poster in the window, in like a side window that no one's going to see from the street, so I'm not complaining. And they had a poppy attached to the gate on the way into the house. And the whole point of the poppy is that you bring it out for remembrance, and you're supposed to leave it at the cenotaph on Remembrance Day. It's not supposed to be a symbol that's there all year round. And I just thought, that like, what there is a very peculiar link between Reform UK right wing types and screaming about the military and our veterans and anything that has any connection to any war that we fought or any military action that this country's taken. And I think that's why they're angry about it, because because of the role that the Chagos Islands has played in the defence of the British Isles in the past.
Yeah. And it is really only the right that's talking about the Chagos Islands. Because we were having this conversation in the group, weren't we? And I think it was Curtis that had mentioned, like, well, yeah, they don't really stop talking about the right, never stop talking about the left, always banging on about Palestine. You always bang on about Palestine, rah, rah. And it's like the right just seems to keep banging on about the Chagos Islands. I think the issues that we obviously care about on the left, not to make this a black left or right thing, but the issues we talk about on the left are not just. Of course, we talk about Palestine. We do. We talk about Sudan. We talk about the Congo. But so we talk about like all sorts of foreign policy. But we also discuss the things that are impacting British people and the things that we care about. This guy needs to be in his local constituency talking about the things that are impacting the people
Well,
of Brighton.
but who the fuck does he think he is, that he's so important that he needs to be the one that flies out halfway across the world to represent Britain? Like, he's an MP. Is the leader of a political party that's got 8 MPs in Parliament. 4 of those MPs are defectors from the Conservative Party. I think all 4 of them, or certainly a few of those 4, have previously served in the previous Conservative government that Nigel Farage has accused of breaking Britain. Like, who the fuck does he think he is? Who gave him the authority to fly? Like, come on. What I'm really looking forward to, though, is that he's out there in the Maldives now, pointing at an island 200 miles away that he's not allowed anywhere near. And in, what day is it today? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. In 3 days' time and a couple of hours' time, he's going to be driving around Manchester in circles, waiting to get a text message that's never going to come to say that Reform UK have won the by-election, so he can drive in and do his big speech. And I cannot wait to see the photographs, if the press manage to find him, of him scurrying away back into his car when he realises that he's not going to be given a victory speech. But that's the topic for another day.
That is. And on that note, I think, because we'll speak about that a little bit later, actually, something very exciting. We can probably make mention of that. But thanks, Callum. That was really, I loved that visceral anger. On to the second story. Let's talk about this Palanski law that Zia Youssef has wanted to bring into fruition. So today, Zia Youssef's Reform UK tweeted, in 10 minutes, I will give a speech outlining how, if you vote for a Reform government as Home Secretary, I will secure our borders, deport those here illegally, get knives off our streets, and make you feel safe. Tune in live on X at 11 a.m. Now, I did. I tuned into what he said and watching everything he declared today. Believe me when I tell you, it was a relentlessly long video of him laying down all these plans to secure the borders. And I'm not going to show any clips of it because I don't want to see anyone Zia Youssef on my show. No, thank you. But let's look at the 8-point plan together. So, it's long. He wants to deliver net negative immigration by ending the era of mass immigration and deporting all illegal migrants from the UK, with the party stating that it would expect to deport over 600,000 in its first term. I won't read it word for word and in full, but I'll read the most shocking. So apply visa bans on countries that refuse to take back their illegal migrants, including the likes of Pakistan, Somalia, Eritrea, Syria, Afghanistan, and Sudan, who all have large illegal migrant populations in the UK. Deliver Operation Restoring Justice by leaving the European Convention of Human Rights immediately, derogating from every international treaty that has been used to frustrate the deportation of those who have no right to be here, immediately commencing the rapid construction of a secure detention capacity for 24,000 illegal migrants, and establishing UK Deportation Command to identify, detain, and deport illegal migrants. Deploy stop and search to get knives off our streets by changing the law to allow Section 60 of the Criminal Justice and Public Order Act of 94, which allows certain things to happen. So you can have a read of that. Protect Britain's Christian heritage by preventing churches being turned into places of worship of other faiths. But when they say other faiths, by the way, we all know what they're alluding to. By automatically listing historic churches, preventing alterations affecting their historic character, requiring their upkeep, and restricting change of use. Reform UK would also create a new planning use class for churches to prevent them being converted into places of worship from other religions, aka you know what. Introduce the quote-unquote Palanski law, to make aiding and abetting illegal entry into the UK a criminal offence regardless of intent. This will close the loophole in the current law by making it a strict liability offence for people to perform any act that assists or encourages illegal entry, punishable by up to 2 years imprisonment. This will stop the Green Party endorsed charity industrial complex from facilitating large-scale illegal entry under the guise of humanitarian or charitable action. The legislation will not impede lifeboats saving those in genuine distress at sea. Debatable. Overhaul the anti-terror prevent programs. It's focused on the real threats Britain faces, especially Islamist terrorism, and mandate home searches in cases of repeat referrals, where an individual is referred by 3 separate corroborating authorities. They will automatically and without exception be subject to a thorough physical search of their homes, and prescribe Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps and the Muslim Brotherhood to begin ridding the UK of extremist organisations. Ooh, that was a lot, wasn't it? It's giving disgruntled, but also, why is this man so bizarre? Like, can you not come up with anything like original? It does feel, and maybe this is just me, but it sounds very Trump-esque. Like, does this not remind you of when Trump did that Muslim ban? You know, where he was like, I don't want people from those countries to come. There's so much to unpack, but the Palanski law. Really? It feels so childish. Tell me you find Zach a threat without telling me you find Zach a threat. And that's not how laws are normally made in this country, is it? You don't draft statute as a bit. You don't badge it with the name of a political opponent like you're setting up this student union argument. It makes the whole thing look really unserious before you've even read like the small print. If your proposal is meant to overhaul criminal liability and withstand constitutional challenge and reshape immigration enforcement, why does it sound like something coined in a Reform UK group chat 5 minutes before you did a little press release? Because the name doesn't, I don't know, it's not about legal clarity. I think it's all about this political football, political signalling. It's saying this law is aimed not just at traffickers, but a whole set of people Reform disagrees with. It personalises legislation in a way British law has traditionally tried very hard not to do. What you can say is that it's needlessly personalised, it's provocative, and it diminishes the seriousness of what they claim is a major legal reform. And I think that sort of stuff actually matters, because once you start writing laws to make cultural points or calling things Palanski law, you stop treating them as neutral rules and you start treating them as weapons in an argument. Zia wanted to bring this ICE style agency is pretty frightening. They want to end leave to remain. And I think that's a boring talking point. They've said it before. They've been barking up that tree for quite a while. And I think that's where people need to stop and really think about what is being proposed here. Because when you start drifting towards an ICE style model of enforcement, I don't think it's just about getting tough on immigration. You are literally trying to change like the DNA of a state, essentially. Like this American system they're implicitly gesturing to and gesturing toward is not simply about border control. It's about building this internal enforcement bureaucracy whose job is to locate, detain, process, and remove people at scale, and have it be an incredibly racialized agenda. So that means huge databases, surveillance partnerships, detention centers, contractors, people getting you off the street whilst they're masked, like their entire careers built around enforcement targets. And once you allow that machine to exist, it doesn't just switch off. It stays there. It has these budgets, it has metrics, and it has this institutional momentum. It will form the fabrics of Britain if we allow that to happen. So I don't know. I don't think we can't be taking that lightly. But this obsession with people on indefinite leave to remain, I'm finding to be so fucking tiring. The stats are obviously so skewed when Reform try to fearmonger around the existence of those on ILR. So let's just debunk a few things really quickly. You've got here on the government website, it states that last year around 864 grants of British citizenship were given. But can we just remember that citizenship comes at the very end of a very, very long process? Like, most of those people will have lived here legally for years first. They've already worked here, paid tax here, raised families here, and gone through earlier stages like visas and settlement before they can even apply to become British. But why has this number gone up? And I'm going to pause because I really want people to think about why that number is rising. most people who arrived in the 2010s are now reaching the point where they can qualify. Yeah. Think of it like a queue that's moving forwards. Yeah. You're in the line at Tesco and you're just finally getting to the front so you can check out. All I'm getting from this is that Reform are also trying to go for people settling after years in Britain rather than about new people arriving. So frustrating. Callum, I want to get your thoughts on the term Palanski law. Is it feeling petty? What do you think?
Of course, it's petty, and I'll come on to it in a minute. But I just firstly want to address something else, because you mentioned about the iStyle agents and what's happened in America with the people with face coverings. Something else that's been announced today from Reform, from Zia Yusuf, is that Zia Yusuf has said that he would support a ban on all face coverings, including the burqa. Now, let's just look back only 12 months or so ago when he threw a big strop and he left Reform UK because Sarah Pochen suggested that Reform UK wanted to ban the burqa, and Zia Yusuf kicked off and said that's not our policy, and I'm offended by that, and he spat the dummy out, and then a day later he was brought back into a different role. So more Reform hypocrisy. But yeah, the Palanski law. Are we rattled much? I mean, it's, you know what, Zach's not actually responded to this yet, or if he has, I've not seen anything from him. But just looking at what it actually says, let's just read the context of it again. This is just from the graphic that we had before. Introduce the Palanski law to make aiding and abetting illegal entry into the UK a criminal offence. Well, that it already is. Regardless of intent is the thing that they've added, right? And the loophole that they're wanting to close, and the regardless of intent that they're referring to, is people claiming asylum. That's what it is. It is already illegal to get on a small boat, travel across the channel, come to the United Kingdom, disappear into nowhere, and work illegally and never make yourself known to the authorities. And to help somebody do that is already illegal, right? What they are referring to is people who are seeking asylum. We're talking about vulnerable people. We're talking about 96% of the people that come across the channel on small boats who do come here and claim asylum when they get here, or at least seek asylum when they get here. And they're doing it because they don't like foreigners. They're doing it for the same reason that they're doing all the other policies, for the same reason that they're going after leave to remain, and they're going after people that have lived in this country for a long time, who probably, expel British values, if that's the word, at a much better rate than the Reform UK lot do. They're doing it because they're a bunch of racists who want to see foreigners out of England. And they're also doing it now because Rupert Lowe's just announced Restore Britain as a political party, and has also announced that him and Advance UK are going to sort of come together into sort of one movement. And they are shitting themselves because all the really far-right neo-Nazis, like the type that were marching on the street in Manchester the other day for Britain First, those people are saying, oh, fuck Reform, we're not going to vote for them because they're too soft. So we're going to go for the real neo-Nazi party, something that Rupert Lowe took offence to, and I think it was Leila Cunningham called them neo-Nazis. As I pointed out on Twitter, if you don't want to be called a neo-Nazi, don't behave like one. So all these people are now flocking across to Advance UK and Restore Britain, and they're leaving Reform behind. And Reform are realising very quickly that they can't win without the support of all the neo-Nazis. They can't win without the support of the people that go out and follow Tommy Robinson. And they're having to clamp down harder to the point where Zia Yusuf is willing to throw away any principles that he had 12 months ago over the burqa ban and say, yeah, I'll do that as well. Oh, and by the way, because the Green Party is such a big threat, and because Hannah Spencer's about to beat the Reform candidate in Gorton and Denton, and they're all wetting themselves about it because they're really pissed off about it, because heaven forbid hope wins over hate. The response is, oh yeah, we're not only are we gonna be really cruel, and we're gonna make it illegal for people to seek asylum in this country, which is what this Palanski law is gonna do, but we're gonna name it after one of the only politicians in this country, certainly one of the only political party leaders in this country, who actually has the humanity and the compassion to actually care, and who actually wants to help people who are fleeing wars, who might be the victims of horrific sexual violence and assault, who might have been trafficked for work, or for to traffic drugs, or for sexual exploitation. The one political person, the one politician in this country who is leading a political party who actually gives a shit and wants to help vulnerable people. Yeah, the law that we're going to introduce to make sure that we don't help vulnerable people, we're going to name it after that guy. It's just, it's performative cruelty. That's what it is.
Absolutely. No, it is. It is formative cruelty, but you know you're winning when you get under someone's skin so much that they want to now name a law after you. But also on top of that, I think what is very telling is that Palanski has not responded. Because Palanski is busy actually supporting those within his party and those who and Hannah in Gorton and Denton. Everything that I think Palanski is rooted in at the moment is just sticking to things that he's passionate about. So I think it says a lot. It says a lot. But thank you, Callum. So before we move on, normally at this point I ask you guys to donate to Turn Left, but it's really awkward because I'm not asking you to do that today. You can also do that. Yeah, 100%. Callum said you can do that too. You guys should, right? You should donate to Turn Left. Like, come on, all the work that we do, it's great. I think it's great. I'm not trying to be biased, but yeah, I think we do a great job. And Callum's been doing a lot of work, and then Curtis and Lewis and Cog, Ben, they all do amazing work. So yeah, if you can, then please do head over to turnleftmedia.co.uk/support, and you can become a Turn Left, is it a member? I haven't written it down, but like you can become a member and then you become a YouTube member for 99p. I haven't written it down, but you guys know the stuff. You know it better than I do. But just for today and for the shows that I will probably host on the Mondays, I will subtly remind everyone, as many of you know, that I'm running the London Marathon this year for the Children's Society. So yeah, 26.2 miles. It sounds daunting. I've been doing a lot of training, got shin splints for it, early morning, sore legs and push myself when I'd rather stop. But the truth is 26.2 miles is nothing compared to the journeys many children take in this country. There are lots of children who are forced to undertake really, really awful journeys in life. Not by choice, not by chance, but because of deliberate political choices. Political decisions are out of their control. Children growing up in temporary accommodation, children missing school because of poverty, instability, or exploitation, housing insecurity. We've heard things about, send kids and EHCPs at the moment in the news. Also our kids who are carers or live with disabilities. So there are just children navigating really, really, really harsh systems at the moment. And as someone who did grow up on these free school meals and in housing that wasn't always secure, dealing with circumstances that no child should have to deal with, I feel like this is a run for me, but also a run for all those kids that are still living in those conditions too. So if you can donate, you're not just sponsoring a marathon, but you're backing the children who are already running much harder races than I ever will. So the link is in the bio. So please donate if you can. I'm actually only £800 away from my target. So yeah, but on to our next story. The political establishment has ramped up the attacks on the Green Party. Is it any surprise? Labour, Reform and the media have targeted the Greens on their policy to legalise drugs. There needs to be genuine adult conversation around drug legalisation, as it's widely known that the war on drugs has failed. But if you're hoping for a grown-up conversation, you'll be disappointed. And Marcy discussed it at the Green Party wanted to legalise GHB, the drug used to spike, to rape. Seriously, this lot should be nowhere near Parliament. When he was sarcastically asked if he was going to defect to Reform, Tapp responded with, "No, I don't want the Greens to enable rape." Curtis Daly made the salient point. Mike Tapp enables rape because he won't call for the banning of alcohol. Not very nice attack, is it? Yet the above logic is the exact same as Tapp's argument. Curtis continued, "Given that alcohol is used in such crimes, I presume Mike Tapp is going to call for an alcohol ban. A genuine scumbag to use this kind of argument. You're coming third." Responding to Mike Tapp, Harry Eccles said, "Legalisation is not liberalisation. You have no idea what you are talking about," which led to an exchange for the ages. "He's been eating too much avocado. Gone to his head," Mike Tapp says. "Actually, Mike, I'm a drug and alcohol nurse specialist writing my master's dissertation on drug decriminalisation." Oof. Mike Tapp got tapped.
We want to see drugs.
Labour then released this appalling US Republican Party style ad.
We want to see drugs legalized.
Open drug use around schools and parks.
I live here. It affects where I take my children. I think we should legalize drugs.
Do you remember when on DVDs when it would say piracy is a crime? Like that's what it's giving. It's giving that. But it wasn't just the Labour Party grossly misrepresenting Green Party policy. The Greens want your children to be able to legally use heroin. They are a danger to society. And that was a tweet made by Reform UK. I'm really sick and tired of AI slop, guys. I know I used it today earlier in the show, but it was within reason. I don't want to see Zach Palanski in some AI slop. Sorry. Yes, the Greens want kids to use heroin. Of course, the truth is the war on drugs has failed. And the reality is that people take drugs whether you like it or not. By the way, the Greens don't want kids to use heroin. I'm being sarcastic. I don't want people to take that out of context. Talking about crack dens, by the way, we have that precisely because drugs are illegal. In the past, we foolishly enacted an alcohol prohibition. Did it stop people from drinking? No, it created a black market in which the substances that were being sold were more harmful. People were dying by conjuring homemade alternatives. The rise of speakeasies were underground bars. It didn't stop. Today, we tax and regulate alcohol. It's much safer. The same needs to be for drugs. Would you rather us continue to leave drugs to the black market, where the substances are more harmful, where people shoot up on the street, or do we finally leave our adolescent view on drugs behind and treat it as a health issue? Drug decriminalization and legalization works. Deaths, HIV diagnosis, and drug incarceration all down after Portugal's drug reform policies. At least the Green Party take this seriously, instead of posturing and creating a moral panic just to score cheap political points. And for Mike Tapp to invoke rape, weaponize it as well, by the way, which I'm not overlooking when trying to attack another party is simply disgusting. Because where are you, Mike Tapp, when we're speaking about violence against women and girls, which, by the way, is an epidemic in the UK? Instead, you want to weaponize rape to score points. That pisses me off, really pisses me off. In the last couple of days, the attacks on the Greens have intensified. Could it be because of this? A new constituency poll showing the Greens winning Gorton and Denton and Labour in third place. It's quite a surprise, eh? Not really. Callum, we've seen quite insane political attacks toward the Greens, but this takes it to another level, doesn't it?
Yeah, and you're right. This is not about drugs. And if you want to understand and better understand the Green Party's drug policy, Curtis did a fantastic interview with the Green Party London Assembly member Zoe Garbett last year, which you can find on our YouTube channel. But this isn't about drugs. This isn't about the Green Party's drugs policy. This is about the fact that Labour are about to lose a by-election. We've seen Labour using the same rhetoric that Reform UK are using. Matt Goodwin's favourite thing to talk about during this by-election campaign seems to be, the Greens will legalise heroin and crack cocaine. He says it now in every single video that he puts out. He finds a way to get it in every single hustings, the ones that he bothered to show up to at least. He gets it in as many times as he can. In every single interview with the media, he gets it in whenever he can. This is a man who said that he was going to run a positive campaign, mind you. But not only Reform UK using those tactics, Labour have started doing it too. Why? Because of that graph. Can we get that graph back up again, Ben? Is that
Bring it up.
It's because of that graph. I don't know if we can actually while I'm on the screen, but yeah, we can't get it, but it's fine. But it's because of that graph, right? It's because of the fact that all the polling that's out, and there's more polling. I don't even know if it's out yet, but there's more polling due to come out. I think it was due today, but it's coming out this week if it hasn't dropped already. That's going to show exactly the same thing, which is Labour in third place. We've seen unsubstantiated attacks against Hannah Spencer and those close to it in the Daily Mail. We've seen the same attack lines being repeated by Reform, and now Labour are using those same attack lines too. And you know what? It's fucking hilarious because they are shitting themselves. They've fucked up so badly. They got Keir Starmer to make a random appearance today to a room of about 30 people in Gorton and Denton to come along and be like, oh, only Labour can win this by-election. Only Labour can beat Reform. And it's like, no, it's bullshit. But he's going because he wants to try and save face now because he's not going to be anywhere near the place when Labour come third. On the drugs policy, though, if you actually read and understand the policy, the whole point is that we decriminalize. We're not legalizing all drugs. That isn't the policy. The policy is that we're decriminalizing drug use. and drug possession. So rather than sending people to prison or giving people criminal records for having and using drugs, we're going to treat drug use as the health problem that it is. We're going to treat addiction as the health problem it is. And as far as schools are concerned, the only thing that the Greens have talked about in relation to children are about decent education, age appropriate education, in the same way that you would teach age appropriate sex education, you would also teach age appropriate drug education so that children know and understand what drugs are, why they're bad for you, why they shouldn't do them, why they shouldn't use them. But also for for older for older children in secondary school, and this is just my personal opinion on it. There's been some people that have said, "Oh, well, they want to teach kids how to safely take drugs." Well, yeah, if teenagers are going to do drugs, I'd rather they learn how to do it safely. Obviously, I'd rather they didn't do it at all. But if they want to do it, which they're already doing while drug use is illegal, by the way, and while they're being criminalized for it, I would much rather that they were doing it safely than doing it in a way that could see them dying, right? Which is the reality of it. Or even, in a way that's going to see them getting caught up with a criminal gang and potentially lead to, to them being murdered or assaulted or, used and extorted for horrendous things that we don't want any teenagers and children to be going through, right? So education is important, at the risk of sounding like Tony Blair. I mentioned it too many times, but it genuinely is, right? We need to educate children age appropriately about the real world. And I think some of these Labour people who are shouting about this, and reformers as well, I think they think that children are somehow sheltered to the world around them. And, oh, well, teenagers definitely wouldn't do drugs. Teenagers wouldn't do drugs. But there's another issue here as well, which is, again, the rank hypocrisy of the people that are criticizing the drugs policy. Because, Matt Goodwin talks about crack cocaine. There was an investigation that was done. I can't remember who did it, but it was fairly recently, that found that every single bathroom in Westminster had traces of cocaine in it. Like, the very thing that these people are shouting about and are complaining about and saying, "Oh, the Greens would do this and it's terrible." These MPs are doing this themselves, allegedly. This is literally happening at the heart of this country's government. And nobody says boo about it because they're all a load of rich posh folks who are the ones that are making the rules. And it's like, okay, so it's one rule for you as an MP, but it's another rule for the peasants in the streets. The Green Party's drug policy is clear, is well thought out, and is designed to keep people safe and to treat people, to treat the drug problem as a health issue rather than the war on drugs, where people end up in prison where they've got more access to more drugs anyway. I don't know what all the outrage is about. Well, I do. It's about the fact they're about to lose a by-election. That's what the outrage is about.
Yeah, there is that. Thanks, Callum. I'm conscious of time, so we're going to go into our final story. So one more story, because it came in today. Oh, Mandelson. He's coming for you, Mandelson. It appears Peter Mandelson has been arrested. Former British ambassador to the US, Peter Mandelson, has been arrested by London police on suspicion of misconduct in public office. Mandelson, who is 72, was fired from the most prestigious posting in Britain's diplomatic service in September when the depth of his friendship with the convicted paedophile, Jeffrey Epstein, started to become clear. Officers have arrested a 72-year-old man on suspicion of misconduct in public office, London's Metropolitan Police said in a statement relating to an investigation into a former government minister. I'm really tired of the phrasing misconduct in public office. Like, fucking say it how it is. There really isn't much information to go by. This has literally just happened a few hours ago. But according to the Financial Times, it could be connected to the claims made against him that he leaked government information to Jeffrey Epstein. Who knows? I don't know what those emails said. Did he say anything? Did he? Probably did. He did, didn't he? We read them. Let me not do too much. The Metropolitan Police launched a criminal investigation into the former cabinet minister this month after the London Force said it had received a number of complaints, including a referral from the UK government. I'm just going to leave it open to interpretation. Callum, I appreciate there's not much info on this, but what is your reaction to all of it?
Well, it is. It's one of those stories that we can't really, speculate and talk too much about, because otherwise we risk being in contempt of court if anything were to ever go to trial. But
Callum always does. Sorry,
the
Callum always does bring me back down to earth, which is good.
it's true. But what do we know? Well, we know that the government have said that they're now going to release the Mandelson files, as they're being dubbed, but in sort of small segments, because obviously the police are still using some and investigating some of them. Including messages, including questions that were asked of Mandelson when the the investigation was going on into whether or not the vetting process was going on, as to whether or not he should be allowed to be the ambassador for the US. And I think it's really interesting that the Metropolitan Police have said that that document, one of these documents specifically, which is about further questions that were asked to and asked of Mandelson during that vetting process, are of interest to them, because that implies that there is something there that they think would be, substantial to forming a case, against him. And it's interesting that those questions were asked of him, and obviously whatever answers he gave, it wasn't enough for the government to say, well, we're not going to make him the ambassador, but it was enough for the police to say, well, actually, no, you can't publish this yet because we need to keep hold of it as evidence because it could be quite damning. So, but the whole thing was, he should never have been appointed in the first place. I'm not surprised that, that he's been accused of misconduct in public office. I mean, Andrew Mountbatten Windsor has just been arrested for exactly the same thing.
Misconduct in public office, true.
And I mean, to be fair, and you say about, you don't like the phrasing of it, but actually that is the legal sort of definition of the crime that's been committed, and it is a very serious crime. It can see quite a substantial prison sentence if found guilty.
So. I mean,
so
we'll see.
But are we? I'll tell you what. Just on the wider issue here, I'll tell you what's frustrating about this story is that the Emily Maitlis did the interview with Andrew. What was it? Was it pre-COVID? Was it like 6 years ago, 4 years, 5 years ago? It wasn't that it was recent, but it was, when the world was a different place, right? And it's only now that Andrew's been arrested. It's only now that we've seen Peter Mandelson be arrested. And what really makes me angry about all of this is that if you look to America, where are the big arrests of the big well-known officials over there? Why hasn't Donald Trump been arrested?
Hello.
Why haven't the FBI been turning over Mar-a-Lago? And I know that there was a thing last year, a couple of years ago during his impeachment trials when there was some of that. But why haven't the FBI been overturning Mar-a-Lago and arresting him? Like, does justice only? And in fairness, I think it's a good what's the word I'm looking for? It shows that the British justice system can work, I suppose. Where we've got a situation where we've got an Andrew, formerly known as Prince, who's been arrested. We've got a former ambassador to the US who's been arrested. Like, it's a pretty big deal and completely unprecedented to use that awful word that everyone's sick of hearing. But why is it only in the UK? And also, why have these men only been arrested on issues relating to misconduct in public office? Why hasn't there been any arrests made for people named in the Epstein files for sexual exploitation, for rape?
Thank you.
For abuse, for being in possession of child pornography, for creating child pornography, for actively raping children? Why haven't any of these men been arrested for any of these crimes? Because it is almost like when these men do, when these men commit a horrific crime, that's related to misconduct in public office. When Peter Mandelson is accused of sharing state secrets with Epstein that he could put money on and make a load of money from the market, like, oh, okay, well, we're gonna arrest and we're gonna investigate that. But when you've got the president of the United States being accused of raping children, of being accused of helping dispose of bodies of babies that have apparently been conceived allegedly by him, according to some of the witness statements and the reports that people made to the FBI at the time. Why has nobody been arrested for that? Do the victims not matter? Do the women and the girls that were used as sex slaves, that were assaulted, that were experienced some of the most horrific things that a human being can go through, are these people not important? Do these people not care? Oh, but Epstein might have been able to make a couple of £1 million by betting on something on the markets because he had a tip off a couple of days before. That's wrong too, and people should go to prison for that. But I think in all of this that we're right to be angry about it, and we're right. Yeah, I'm glad that there's arrests are now being made and that this is being investigated. But I want to see justice for the victims as well. I want to see justice for those who have had to sit by and watch these men for years get away with the horrific crimes that they committed. And you know what? If they go to prison for this, I suppose at least they're locked up. But I also want to see the men who have committed these horrific crimes against other human beings also be arrested and be questioned and be investigated for those crimes as well, or those alleged crimes.
Sorry, I had a mare for a sec.
Yeah, we noticed.
I'm so embarrassed. All it was just a little fumble. I was trying to adjust something, and then all of a sudden, things started falling. But this is why I was getting angry earlier. Firstly, I'm angry at Mike Tapp for saying for weaponizing rape in the way that he did, because I don't think that that's someone who actually cares about men, women, or children being harmed in that sort of way. I also find the term misconduct in public office to be so weak, because these people were sat with literal pedophiles, with literal rapists. And I've been saying time and time again that victims' voices, the lived experiences of those who were impacted by that, are being completely missed out in this. I'm seeing Mandelson walk out of one of his homes. He's got more than one, by the way. Based not in cuffs, like just walking. Oh fucking hell! What's wrong with me? Just walking. And they said on the news as well that he's probably not going to spend. He's not going to be there overnight in prison. He's probably he's going to spend a few hours.
In fairness,
no, there's no fairness about it.
There is fairness about it, Sarah.
Callum, no, just finish. There's no fairness about it, because we have to. I'm not kidding. When it comes to these institutions at the moment, it was literally just yesterday when I saw a man in religious cloth, be told again that there has been misconduct, aka harming children, behind the church. People aren't angry enough, Callum. People need to stay angry. I'm really genuinely getting very pissed off with the way things are framed. I'm getting pissed off with the way these institutions are getting away with shielding power. It's getting tiring.
I agree.
I think if you are sat at a table with rapists and paedophiles, you need to be reprimanded and told that you are just as sick. Like, with all due respect. And I'm sorry if it's going to get us into any sort of trouble, but I'm sick and tired of us tiptoeing around it.
Sarah,
around things to do with harm against women and girls.
I completely agree with everything that you're saying. That what I wanted to come in on was just what you said about he probably won't spend overnight. We don't want him to spend overnight, because actually what happens is, the way that it works is, once somebody's been arrested, from the point of arrest, you have a certain number of hours that you can hold somebody and that you can question somebody before you have to let them go without charges, and that time period is rolling. So if you arrest someone and you keep them for 2 hours and then you let them out, it means that a week later, when you go back and you rearrest them, you can hold them for a longer period of time when you've got more evidence, when you've got more against them. If you hold them there for the full, I think it's 48. I don't know the exact time frame, but if you hold
24.
them for 2 full days in one go before you've had chance to question them and then follow up on the things that they've said in the interview, you then can't get them back in the police station for further questioning. So on that one point about, he probably won't spend the night, I don't want him to spend the night. I want them to interview him. I want them to get as much out of them now as he can, get him released as quickly as possible, so that once they've had chance to act on what they've talked to him about in his interview, they can bring him back in and they have more time to hold him to account in a week or two's time when they've got more evidence against him. But they can't do that if they hold him now for 2 or 3 days, because they won't be allowed to hold him after the fact. It's one of those really weird sort of ways in which the justice system works, but I just thought it was important to mention that, because I know it seems on the on the outside like, he's just going in for a quick chat and then they're setting him free.
No,
But
I know.
the fact that they've chosen to arrest him, though, because previously, if the police wanted to question him, they can invite him in to speak, to chat. They can invite him in for an interview, and I think they have done. But the difference is that when that happens in those circumstances, Peter Mandelson is free to leave whenever he wants. If he walks in and they ask him a question that he doesn't like, he can just get up and go. While he's under arrest, he can't do that. So they've now got a period where they can question him, where he's there. Once they've got the information that they need from him, they'll let him go. They can then use that information to do further investigation, and then, in theory, rearrest him if they then want to press any charges.
Yeah. I'm really livid. Like, I think if I talk about it too much, I end up getting quite emotional about it.
We should point out, for legal reasons, that Andrew Mountbatten Windsor and Peter Mandelson both very strongly deny any wrongdoing at all. Just putting that one out there for...
Leave it to your discretion, but yeah. I'm going to remain angry about it. I'm going to remain angry at these institutions. I'm angry that the king is kind of just walking around doing his royal duties still. So that's my personal opinion, not Turn Left's opinion. My personal opinion.
No, but listen, we're right to be angry. We are right to be angry.
Going to the BAFTAs, having a jolly old time and whatever. Like, get rid of him. I'm sick of the great chain of being. I'm sick of the divine right of kings. I'm sick of this old thing. Like, get rid of it. I'm sorry. Anyway, my opinion, no one else's. So let's go to our comments, shall we? Because we're getting to an hour. It's been an hour. Sorry. And we're joined with...
Hello. Yes, I have been messing about in the background trying to make things work. I'm sorry, Sarah, that I didn't quite get to you quickly enough when your camera fell. That was my bad.
I was literally trying to adjust it and then realised I completely fucked it. So this is why I shouldn't touch things. Just even now, I knocked my mic like this because I'm too expressive. I'm like that all the time. Like, too much.
Yeah.
Ben, just before we come to the comments, can I just clarify something I said earlier?
Of course.
So this was just in relation to the drugs conversation we were having, and I said that traces of cocaine had been found in every toilet. So it was actually an investigation by the Sunday Times in 2021, but it found traces of cocaine in 11 out of 12 lavatory areas that were tested within the Palace of Westminster. So it wasn't in every bathroom, but out of the 12 that they tested, it was in 11 of them. So I just wanted to be factual.
Yeah, that seems...
Take that as you will.
Seems sensible. Yeah, okay, let's go through some of the comments. So Paul Webster... donated £2 and said it's the red button, the Android symbol. And Leo said, quite importantly, guys, in order for subs to be enabled on Turn Left Twitch, they need 50 followers and an average of viewers of 3+ people. So if you have a second device and Twitch, please pop in on the background and follow Turn Left. Really good advice from Leo. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. Yeah. Arthur Bumblefoot said in relation to the Nigel Farage story and the Chagos Islands, Nigel agreeing with an aid ship. Did he say the same about the boats going to Gaza? thinking just strategically on this, is there an attack line that we could maybe use? Comparing those two things and the hypocrisy.
So I actually was scouring Nigel Farage's Twitter when I was looking at this story, and I was like, did he say anything about the flotilla or the boats going to Gaza? And actually, correct me if I'm wrong, I didn't find much, to be honest. I wanted to find something so I could use it against him, and I don't know. I think all I know is that Farage talks about stopping boats a lot, but I don't think he's spoken about boats going to Gaza. Has he? Because I can't respond to it because I know that he hasn't said from what I found.
I think
I'm not sure.
Reform. Yeah, he might not have anything specific, but of course, Reform UK back Israel, and also he hasn't stated any support for it either. So
he was very quiet, and I think he was quiet. It was a very tactical quietness on it. But there is hypocrisy there. Like, how is it that you've grown a bit of a backbone to deliver aid to the people of Chagos, but when it comes to the declared genocide in Palestine, you have remained quite silent on that. Not even silent on declaring this genocide. You've actually been quite loud and outspoken in the fact that that you don't show support for the people of Gaza or the Palestinian people. So I find it's just political football, it's political theatre. He is a fraud.
Definitely.
What I really want to see on Thursday night is I want to see, that photograph of Prince Andrew in the car in the back where he looks completely traumatized, like as he should be. I want to see a photograph of Nigel Farage in the back of the car driving around Manchester on Thursday night in that style. So if you're watching this and you're a press photographer, that's my challenge to you for Thursday evening. In fact, I might go out and see if I can do it myself.
Yes,
see if I can find it.
I heard someone say, it might even have been on one of our shows, that picture was captioned with "Why are we going into a tunnel?" At one point. Which, yeah, I know, a bit dark, but anyway, moving swiftly on before we get in trouble. Flo Snake said, "Nah, I think he's trying to improve his chances, Nigel Farage, improve his chances in Gorton and Denton." And Angeliki Stoiger is privately wishing Keith had gone with him, which I thought was quite good, actually.
What does Flo Snake mean that Nigel Farage is trying to improve his chances by going to the Maldives?
Staying away from the constituency.
Well, it was weird because when I was there, I've been there constantly, but quite a few times over the last few weeks when I've been in the constituency, and because I've been there, I've been filming a lot as well. I've had the camera, particularly that first weekend when I was doing the documentary. I'd have people, I'd have like random people come up and be like, "Oh, it's Nigel Farage about." And I said this happened on at least I think 3 or 4 occasions where I asked them. I said, "No," I said, "I'm not here with Nigel Farage." I said, "Why?" I said, "Are you planning on voting for him?" And at least on 3 or 4 occasions, they went, "Maybe not. I'm not really sure. I just wanted to meet him." So okay. So Farage coming to the constituency, I think he has been there, and people do want to see him. Doesn't mean they're going to vote for him. Not according to the people that want to see him, anyway.
Yeah, there's a sort of element of polarization with Farage. Him coming in doesn't win over the swing voters because people sort of the people who swing either way. I don't know. Are they going to be persuaded by Farage? I don't know. What do you think, Sarah?
Sorry, what was the question?
Whether or not the swing voters in Gorton and Denton would it improve their chances if Nigel Farage came along, or reduce their chances?
I don't think it would help anything, to be honest. I think I'd hope that people of Gorton and Denton know that reform in and of itself without Farage, I think it would cease to exist. I do think reform is a one-man band. I also think the people of Gorton and Denton want someone who is part of their local community. These are people who feel disgruntled because they don't feel that they've had the things that they needed served in a way that's fair for them. So I'd hope I'd hope that the people of Gorton Denton will realise that there's this this performative person who's come in to support Matt Goodwin, who's not even from Gorton and Denton, that is just literally this puppet, and they don't represent the best interest. I think they should also see. I think this is now no longer a myth that Farage is never in Clacton. I'd urge them to go speak to the people of Clacton if they can.
Can we put in a freedom of information request to get that? I don't know who we'd ask, but like, is there a way that we can find out how much time he's actually spent in Clacton since he got elected? There's got to be a way of
there
finding
has to be
that
something, but I don't know. Like, he was willing to do everything apart from being Clacton. Like, this guy, I think, would swim the Atlantic if he could.
Oh, I like that.
If it didn't mean being in Clacton.
I do just want to highlight this comment because it's relevant to what Sarah's saying. According to Owen Jones, Efrewell says, according to Owen Jones, he's known as Nigel Mirage in Clacton. You may see him, but he's not there. I think it was pretty good. I really like that.
On the subject, go on.
I was just going to say that I like the way that none of us are questioning whether Keir Starmer's appearance would be bad for Angelica Stoiger, because we know it would be bad, because Keir Starmer appearing anywhere means that the candidate's going to lose any association.
To be fair, I think I was just thinking before. I think Starmer's appearance this afternoon is probably better for reform than Nigel Farage going. So
literally.
But on the subject of nicknames, people in Gorton and Denton are also calling Matt Goodwin Matt Badloos. So that's another one that has been that's been going around. But don't get me started on Patricia Clegg. She's a real person, you know.
Yeah.
But I think the interesting thing, and by the way, join me on Friday night for Normal Ireland Live, where we'll be discussing everything to do with the results from the by-election special. Just throwing that one out there. But what's really interesting is that actually people in that area in Gorton and Denton, they've got a Labour mayor, they've got a Labour council, and until recently they've had a Labour MP. So anything that is wrong in the area, any of the problems that they have in the area, any of the issues, whether it's drug use, whether it's litter, my God, some of the streets in Gorton and Denton are filthy. There is a huge problem with litter that's just lying around all over the place. You know, there's some really crap roads. I know with potholes, it's a county council thing, but like there's some real areas in that constituency that have clearly just been left to just disintegrate. And this has happened with a Labour mayor, a Labour councillors, and a Labour MP up until recently. So of course people are looking for somebody other than Labour, because everywhere they look, everywhere they see a problem, rightly or wrongly, they're going to attribute that to Labour. And now there's a Labour government and their area hasn't improved. So of course they're not going to vote Labour. Of course they're going to go somewhere else. But if you listen to Labour, only Labour can beat reform in Gorton and Denton. Unless they think maybe Labour have got data that actually shows that reform are going to come third or fourth. Maybe that's why they keep saying only Labour can beat reform, because maybe Labour are going to come second to the Greens. You know, I mean, that would mean that the Greens have also beat reform, but you know, I don't know. It's Labour aren't going to win this election, and I don't know if Nigel Farage is helping them. But I think a lot of the reform vote is coming from people. I was talking to some people last night who are angry with Labour. Some people actually that have come over from Hong Kong, and they came under the settlement scheme that was introduced by the last government. Labour have now reneged on the promise in as far as some of the benefits that was supposed to be included as part of that scheme of having people move from Hong Kong to come and stay in the UK. And they're really angry at Labour, and they can't decide whether they're going to vote Green or they're going to vote Reform. And it's not because they necessarily support either of their policies, but it's because they don't want to vote for Labour, and they know that it's a three-horse. Well, it's not really a three-horse race anymore, but they know that it's if it's not going to be Labour, it's going to be Greens or Reform, and they just want anybody else that isn't Labour to win, to send a message to Labour that they're not happy with them.
Yeah. I I don't know. Do you have anything to add on that one, Sarah? Obviously, Callum sort of like
No, I think Callum's covered all the bases there.
brilliant, brilliant. I did want to say briefly, just so we get the Twitch comment in, or one of the Twitch comments, not a humanitarian bone in that vile man's body, referring to Nigel Farage. And I had a question about this one, because Actual Intrepid said that he's copied Keith's missions, and I can't remember whether this was in relation to Zia Yusuf or Nigel Farage. I think it was in relation to Zia Yusuf, actually. And do you think it's wise, strategy-wise, and I'll go to Sarah first, do you think it's wise, strategy-wise, for us to be comparing reform less to the BNP, the Nazis, far-right organisations, and declaring them as far-right, and actually comparing them to the losers and the briefcases in the Labour government? Because I think there might be something to that. What do you think about that strategically, Sarah?
Well, I like the idea of mocking them, but I have said that I think the Reform Party, and people can criticise me on this, I think, and me and Banseka were on the same page about this, that I think they are radical right. I think that some people within that party dance with the far right side of things, but I don't think they are in and of themselves a far right party. But what we're seeing at the moment in the last few days is this echoing of what I think Rupert Lowe is trying to push. Like, we don't want our churches to become mosques, because they said this elusive thing in this 8-point plan that we want to protect our churches so they don't become other places of worship. He didn't mean synagogues. Like, I know he didn't mean synagogues. He definitely meant mosques. There is this huge anti-Islamic agenda with what Reform have put out, what Zia Yusuf has put out. I want us to consistently take the piss out of them. If we mock them, then people will see them for the joke that they are. But I also think call them out for their bullshit too. What they're pushing is a racialized and Islamophobic agenda that is targeting minoritized communities, all for the sake of political football. I think every single time I hear, and what makes it even sadder, by the way, what makes it even more heartbreaking is the gimmicky mimicking that he is doing, which I think is very, copying other people's missions, copying Trump, this Americanization of what they want Britain to be. And God forbid they ever get into power, because I think they will move even further to the right. That's what worries me. So I'm scared.
I think as well, just feeding it back to the point about the Labour comparisons, what you've just described there, Sarah, there was multiple times in what you've literally just said where I've been sat here thinking, are you talking about Reform or Labour? Because Labour are doing all those things as well.
They are.
Labour are weaponising minority groups. Labour are attacking people from certain religious backgrounds. Labour are attacking migrants. Labour are trying to be more like Rupert Lowe and more like more like Trump and more like the far right. So actually, I think there may be something in. I think there may be something in that strategy-wise, as Ben says. Sort of comparing them to Labour. I think it will piss them off more.
It would,
because they don't want to be compared to Labour. But also, isn't it just a real shit indictment of how Labour are, that it's even possible to even try and make those comparisons?
Yeah.
Like the fact that we could literally sit here and say, well, actually, maybe it's a better strategy to compare Reform to Labour. The fact that it's even possible to make that comparison shows what a complete fuck up Labour have made of Labour.
I think my only question would be, if we do that, I don't know if many people would believe it though, because they think that Labour is a communist party. They're like commie Keir, commie Starmer. If we attempt to show the similarities between Reform and Labour, because Shabana Mahmood was making some really insane things as well. I think at one point the Labour Party were dabbling with the idea of taking people's jewellery, and that was very Nazi. That's what the Nazis did in Nazi Germany to Jewish communities. So I don't know. I think if we can do that, great because no one wants to vote for Labour. People fucking hate Labour. But I don't know how useful it will be. I don't know if people believe it.
Yes, 100%.
But also, like, is it not sad that Zia Youssef is doing this? Like, I don't know. I think as a black woman myself, when I see people who are black or brown really go in so hard on minorities, it really scares me because I think they're trying to move away from, well, I'm not the token in the party, to let me clamp down really hard to prove that I'm not the token in the party. Let me clamp down really hard on minorities to prove that I'm not one of them. And so it's really weird. We saw it with Priti Patel and I think Shabana Mahmood. We've seen it with Sajid Javid. We saw it with Suella Braverman. Like we saw it with all of these people. Kemi, I think as well. David Lammy, I think, is really
you know what's really crazy though at the moment. Just talking about Kemi, and this is gonna, don't come at me in the comments, okay? I'm only saying, all right. A lot of the time now, when I see her speaking, or I hear her talking, or I see her doing interviews, or I see her in Prime Minister's questions, more and more and more now, I'm thinking she's right, because all the attacks on Starmer and all the attacks on Labour, a lot of the things that she's saying in terms of how Labour are behaving, not in her own policies and her own way of doing things, but in terms of what she's calling Labour out for doing, she's absolutely bob on. And I think this is also one of the other issues, is that talking about how Labour have completely fucked things up, is that when you're watching Prime Minister's questions and Kemi Badenoch comes across as more sensible than Keir Starmer, you know everything has gone to shit, because she's not. She's a complete and utter nutcase. As is her party, as are her policies, right? Like, I want to make that very, very clear.
I agree.
And Arthur's just pointed out in the comments, he said, "You're right, Carl, but Kemi doesn't believe it." No, of course she doesn't believe it. But when you've got people like Kemi coming across as more sensible, it just shows what a complete and utter mess Labour have made. But on your point, Sarah, about the sort of the tokenism and that side, it is really sad. It is really sad, and unfortunately, we've seen it for quite a while now. We saw it with Priti Patel. We saw it with Suella Braverman. We're seeing it. We saw it. We were seeing it now through with Zia Youssef, and it's interesting because every time Reform UK announce that they're going to stand someone to be a councillor, whenever they stand someone who isn't white and they put an announcement up, if it's not like a big name like Zia, if it's like someone unheard of, and they say this is whoever, and they're going to be the candidate for the local election or whatever, if they're not white, the comments underneath the Twitter posts are all the same. We don't want those foreigners in our country. He should be deported. Why is he standing for Reform? And these are Reform UK supporters, but they're angry because people who want to stand for the party are not white, and they abuse them. It's really sad.
We should go on because I've got a few comments to get through still. Apologies. So we have Paul Webster, who donated. I'm just doing them in order. Sorry. Usually we do the super chats at the start. I'm just doing them in order just because it's easier. I mark them all. So so Paul Webster Lincoln donated £5. Thank you very much, Paul. We really appreciate it. And said, love the channel. Thank you. Shout out to Richard Murphy. Please all go check him out. The channel needs a mascot. Perhaps rescue a Staffy. I'm not sure whether that's our channel or Richard's channel, but he's right about Richard Murphy. Richard Murphy is really, really good. And somebody replied.
Well, I'm up for us to have a mascot. I'm happy for us to get a dog.
Trepid said, Kev can be the mascot. Michael donated a Turn Left membership.
Thanks, Michael.
Membership.
It's Michael's a lib though. That's
Michael's always giving. So thank you, Michael. Thank you.
I can't say that. Pseudonymous said the Greens want heroin for kids. Heroines like Hannah Spencer and Carla Daniel. I just thought that was really good. I like that.
I like that line. I'm going to steal that line.
Yeah, steal it. Give it to them in Gorton and Denton. Like
I know I will. I really
you're down there quite regularly, so you use that. Anything you can get to turn around.
You say that. There's only 3 days left.
Yeah, true. But like, you always roll out the attack lines. It's all good. Never too late for a tank to roll into the trenches, you know. So Eric the Red said Labour/Reform. Any difference is paper thin now. I think we all agree. And Michael said that Labour would rather Reform win the Greens. I think it's hard to disagree.
Well, they said that just really quickly. So they actually said that. They said that I'm paraphrasing the quote, but they said that a Reform win would be terrible, but a Green win would be existential. That was the Labour Party that said that. So I mean, and the fact that the sorry, I keep going on about it. It's all that's on my mind at the moment. This by-election, the fact that that Labour are pushing so hard now against the Green Party rather than against Reform tells you all you need to know about who they would rather win.
Definitely. Antifa Vegan Boy said, gifted 10 left turn memberships.
He always does.
10 turn left memberships. I said 10 left turn memberships. Know what our channel's called. And gifted 5 turn left memberships. Ollie.
Thanks,
gifted
Ollie.
5 turn memberships. I should have said Ollie to start with.
It's Deus
much
Ex.
easier.
Deus Ex.
Deus Ex. Oh, I was pronouncing it in the French way. Like,
I did that for ages, and then someone pointed it out.
Someone and I thought this was particularly good when we were deciding what Peter Mandelson's files should be called. Jim Speaker came up with the Peter files, which is brilliant. Release the Peter files. No, don't release the Peter files. Keep them in jail.
I just got it.
So yeah.
Well, I was like, everyone's laughing really hard, but I don't quite get it.
Why are people laughing? And Rachel Atwood donated $10 and said, in my humble opinion, schools should teach kids to recognise signs of an overdose and how to react in real time as part of their first aid training course. I think this is more what the Greens are talking about than this is how you want to do cocaine. This is where to buy it. Like, that's not.
Yeah.
Talking about.
I completely agree, although that's not really Rachel Atwood. So I'm not sure.
It is true. This is not really Rachel Atwood.
Who's Rachel?
And with regards to the lack of action on pursuing the sexual crimes, but going after them for like misconduct in public office, Becca correctly said misogyny is real. It's very real. It's institutionalized. I think we all agree on that. I just want to say with this one. Okay. So someone put Trump is a clown, but not what you're implying. You have zero proof. Don't let your hate take over.
Sorry. That Trump is a criminal.
Well, I did make some very strong accusations that are all based in witness testimony that have been released as part of the Epstein files. So by all means, if you want to hear and I think people should hear it, even though it's horrific. If you want to hear the horrific detail of how Donald Trump allegedly took a baby that was born as a result of him raping a child and disposed of its body in Lake Michigan, feel free, go and read the Epstein files. If you want to read stories about how Donald Trump allegedly raped and sexually assaulted other children, by all means, go and read the Epstein files. But also, if you want to know what sort of man Donald Trump is, listen to the words that he says. Go and find that clip where he brags about the fact that he runs beauty pageant contests for children and how he can wander into the changing rooms when they're in states of undress whenever the hell he wants, because he's the guy that runs the pageants. That was in the public domain before he was even elected president the first time around. So don't take my word for it. Listen to the Don.
Literally.
Sarah.
Are we overlooking the fact that he is a convicted felon? Like, I don't know. Like, he literally is. Like, we've got someone running office.
He's also been found liable of sexual battery by a jury of his peers as well. Just throwing that one out there.
Yeah. Literally that.
Yeah. I mean, among other things, just in case, Freedom Fighter, you thought that you could get away with saying that in our comments. The CNN, to quote CNN, there are also FBI notes about a woman who accused Trump in a lawsuit of raping her when she was 13. Sorry, trigger warning for all of this. And an FBI interview with one of Epstein's victims who stated that Epstein's accomplice, Ghislaine Maxwell, once presented to her presented her to Trump at a party. There's the 1990 oral rape allegation, which alleges that Trump, and this is all part of the Epstein files, alleges that Trump forced a 13 to 14-year-old female to perform oral sex on him, who was then hit in the face after laughing about biting him during the act. So many really horrific things, such as one victim who claimed that, or a man claimed that Donald Trump had raped her along with Jeffrey Epstein, quoted in the files. And according to a released document, the alleged rape victim told the driver in late 1999 that she had made a police report. He then informed her in the following, he was then informed in the following year that the woman had been found with her head blown off in Oklahoma, and that her death was deemed by police as definitely not a suicide. Another one we could go to. One of them, an allegation, accused Trump of being a client for sex trafficking at the Trump golf course, and she actually claimed that the victim claimed that. Alleged victim claimed that Ghislaine Maxwell acted as a broker, but more specifically claims that she was threatened to stay silent on this by Trump's head of security, and she heard rumors of girls going missing by being murdered and buried at the facility, being buried underneath the golf course. This is something that has repeatedly come up. I mean, you can say you have zero proof, don't let your hate take over. I'm not letting my hate fucking take over. My hate is boiling because of the things that I've had to read and listen to about the things that Donald Trump is accused of. He's trying to hide it. He's trying, regardless of whether he's guilty or not. And I'm not saying he's guilty. He's trying to hide this. He's trying to hide all of this. And I think we just take it very seriously. Sorry, I've realised I'm ranting now, but it just makes me so mad when people try and defend Donald Trump. You haven't got any evidence. We've got a fuck ton of evidence. Just on a final comment, William Jackdaw said, did I mention Sarah's a legend? And I wanted to end on that one because Sarah has put on a fantastic show for you all. I want to hand it to Sarah to close off.
To you guys, honestly. Brilliant. I'm really grateful. Thank you so much, Ben, otherwise known as Carg. I am really, really glad that I got to do this show with you, Callum. I think you are a gem. You really are. I'm very, very grateful for your insight and the work you've been tirelessly doing for Turn Left. I think it's
tirelessly is a good word. To be fair, I am absolutely shattered. You know what? I was thinking just quickly before we wrap up. I was thinking before we came on air earlier that I'm looking forward to next week just having like some sort of sense of normalcy, is that a word? Normality in my life, because literally for the last few weeks it's been work or getting the car and drive through to Gortney Denton for the by-election to film and also to campaign, or to try and do both at the same time, which is a bit tricky. We've got a Vox Pop video going out this week. I think it's going out tomorrow. That I shot, that Curtis very kindly edited for me, because I just haven't got the time to do it. So that'll be going out this week as well. But Sarah, thank you, because you've been holding the fort with hosting again, and you're doing more. You've been picking up the slack where I've not been doing the live shows. You've been
untrue. They carry me. They carry me, and they support me endlessly. So I'm very grateful for you guys, they as in Turn Left team, and also all of you guys. I think it's a great time to thank you all for just how wonderful you all are. I think we've built a really wonderful community, a great community, a thriving community. I'm thankful to Ben as well for saying what he said at the end when it comes to Trump. And you can't help but get a little bit emotional. I'm not trying to get emotional on live, but I'm just sick and tired of all the harm that's happening around the world. And you've got people who have literally allegedly harmed people, and are literally running office. So I think if people's anger and hatred isn't boiling over, then I'm quite concerned about the level of empathy that they hold in their hearts. So stay angry. But do subscribe, do share this channel. Head over to turnleftmedia.co.uk/support. And there you can become a member, I believe. You can also become a member on, I don't know the words, or you become a YouTube member, which is nice. Just 99p. Also, just quickly, and this will probably make me tear up, someone donated £200 to my page, which is so wonderful. So I want to thank whoever that is. I don't know who it is, but I want to thank you for fighting the good fight with me. So yeah, really, really grateful. So anyway, if you do want to donate, if you want to share it, share is even more priceless. The link is in the bio, so that would be amazing. But I'll see you guys next Monday.